Hello everyone. So in the last class we discussed what is an element, what is a compound, the different characteristics of an element and the different characteristics of a compound. So what are these elements and compounds made up of? Elements and compounds are made up of tiny particles known as atoms. So all elements are made up of tiny particles known as atoms. Now, atoms are so tiny that they cannot be broken down into anything further. Okay, so they are the smallest particle present in an element. Now, usually atoms do not exist independently. They do not exist independently. So what does this mean? This means that you will not find a single atom anywhere. An atom always combines with other atoms to form an element or a compound, and then they exist. Okay, so they do not exist independently. You will not find a single atom anywhere. It will combine with another atom to form either an element or we call it a molecule. So for example, suppose this is an atom of hydrogen. You will find that, or you will see that this single atom of hydrogen is not found anywhere in the universe. It will combine with another atom of hydrogen to form a molecule of hydrogen, and then you will find hydrogen in the atmosphere. That is why we write H2, because there are two atoms of hydrogen present in a molecule of hydrogen. So one atom does not exist independently. It always combines to form a molecule. Okay. Now, suppose I take the next one is atoms of an element are all identical. Atoms of an element are identical. What does this mean? Suppose I take gold. So all the atoms that form the gold are similar. So the atoms of gold of this element are identical or similar. That means this atom will be similar to the other atom. This atom will be similar to the other atom. So they are not different. So an atom or the atoms of an element are all similar. They are all identical to each other. But suppose I take silver and gold. So obviously the atoms of silver are identical to each other. They are same. Here the atoms of gold are same. But this atom is completely different from this atom. So atoms of one element are similar, but they are different from the other atom of another element. So one element has similar type of atoms, but it is different from the atoms of another element. Okay? And suppose I break this gold into small pieces. Whatever fine small pieces I make, the properties remain the same. Suppose I take iron. We all know that magnet attracts iron, isn't it? So if I break the iron into very fine particles also, I find that we see that the magnet attracts the iron. So the atoms, they always retain their properties. So all elements and compounds are made up of very small particles known as atoms. Atoms do not exist independently. You do not find them in the free state. They are always found in the combined state. Atoms of an element are identical or similar to each other, but they are different from the atoms of another element, and atoms of each element, they retain their properties. Okay? Then the next one we come to is molecule. We have already done that matter is made up of molecules. So what are molecules? Atoms combine to form molecules. So we have already done. Matter is made up of molecules. These molecules are actually made up of atoms. Okay? So molecules are nothing but atoms which have combined together and they form molecules. Okay? Now molecules are of two types. Molecules of an element and molecules of a compound. So the number of atoms present in an element forms the molecules of an element. We also call it atomicity. So here the molecules of an element are made up of only one type of atoms. Like suppose hydrogen element is made up of two atoms of hydrogen. So they are made up of only hydrogen atoms. Oxygen is made up of only oxygen atoms. They form the elements. So molecules of an element are made up of similar types of atoms, and the number of atoms present in an element is known as atomicity. For example, in hydrogen, how many atoms of hydrogen are there? 2. Oxygen, okay, 2. Okay, let's take another example. We have an element known as ozone, which consists of 3 atoms of oxygen. So we write O3. So it is composed of 3 atoms of oxygen. So molecules of an element is composed of the same type or similar types of atoms, and the number of atoms that form the element is known as atomicity. For example, hydrogen consists of 2 atoms of hydrogen. Molecule of oxygen consists of 2 atoms of oxygen. Molecule of ozone consists of 3 atoms of oxygen, and this is known as atomicity. So if there are 2 atoms in a molecule, we call it diatomic. If there are 3 atoms in a molecule, we call it triatomic. Suppose I take sodium, Na. We've already done the symbol of sodium is Na. Here there is no number. That means only one atom is present. We call it monoatomic. So if only one atom forms the molecule monoatomic, meaning 1. If 2 atoms forms the molecule diatomic, di meaning 2. If 3 atoms forms the molecule, we call it triatomic, tri meaning 3. We have molecules of phosphorus going up to P4. We call it polyatomic because it is more than 3. Okay, so once more, there are 2 types of molecules. What are molecules? Molecules are formed by atoms. Molecules are of 2 types. Molecules of an element and molecules of a compound. I have not explained the compound one. Molecules of an element. If an element, molecule of an element is always composed of atoms, depending on the number of atoms present in the molecule, we call it atomicity. So if there is only 1, like in sodium, monoatomic. Some molecules of an element are composed of 2 atoms, like in hydrogen, diatomic, oxygen, there are 2 atoms, diatomic. Ozone is a molecule of an element which consists of 3 atoms of oxygen, so triatomic. Now we come to molecule of a compound. I told you molecule of an element is composed of similar types of atoms. Compound, we've already done what is a compound. It is a combination of 2 or more elements. So if, suppose I take hydrogen, oxygen, and again hydrogen. See here. Here it is a combination. Here this molecule is a combination of 2 types of atoms. We have hydrogen atom also. We have oxygen atom also. So if there is a combination of different types of atoms, it is known as molecules of a compound. Here we have 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen, H2O, that means water. So this is a molecule of water. Another one. A carbon atom combines with 2 oxygen atoms. So let's see what is it. Carbon dioxide. So molecules of an element composed of only 1 type of atom. Depending on the number of atoms, they may be monatomic, diatomic, triatomic. This is known as atomicity. Molecules of a compound consist of atoms of different elements combining together to form a compound. Now we come to valency. So whenever a molecule of a compound is formed, the atoms combine with each other with the property known as valency. So what is valency is the combining capacity of an element. The combining capacity of an element is known as valency. So depending on the valency, the elements or the atoms of an element will combine with each other.